Alright, should we do this game?
Do it.
No. Back, you should turn it up and turn it out loud.
Yeah.
There you go.
Alright, Napoleon Hill, self-confidence formula. First, I know that I have the ability to choose the object that has the purpose of life. Therefore, I demand of myself persistent continuous action towards the statement, and I here now promise to render such action. Second, I realize the dominating thoughts of my mind will eventually reproduce themselves in outward physical action and gradually transform themselves into physical reality. Therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes daily upon the task of being the person I intend to become, thereby creating in my mind a clear mental picture of that person. Third, I know through the principle of auto-suggestion, any desire that consistently holds my mind will eventually seek expression through practical means of obtaining the object back to me. Therefore, I will devote 10 minutes daily demanding myself development of self-confidence. Fourth, I have clearly written down a description of my definite chief aim in life, and I will never stop trying until I have felt the physical confidence towards attainment. Fifth, I fully realize that no wealth or position will lock a door unless built upon truth and justice. Therefore, I will engage in no transaction which does not benefit all of its effects. I will succeed by attracting opportunities and the cooperation of other people. I will use others to serve me because of my willingness to serve others. I will eliminate hatred, envy, jealousy, selfish cynicism by developing love for all humanity. Because I know that a negative attitude towards others could never lead to success. I will cause others to believe in me because I will believe in them and in myself. I will sign my name to this formula, commit to it, and repeat it aloud once a day with full faith and will gradually influence my thoughts and actions so that I will become a self-reliant and sensible person. Hoorah! Alright, 12 steps. This is a 12-step order that will fit a standard twitch when followed with the practice of a positive environment. Guarantees 24 plus transactions annually and unprecedented growth in ability. 1. I dedicate 1 hour daily toward ability protecting my self-confidence. 2. I practice and internalize my sales skills for a minimum of 1 hour each day. 3. I contact my sphere of influence by mail, by phone, and or in person, and by email quarterly. 4. I make 150 plus contacts per week, 30 plus per day, by phone or in person. 5. I follow all my qualified leads daily. 6. I set 5 plus new appointments a week with buyers and sellers. 7. I completely pre-qualify with 100% of my appointments. 8. I have an appointment greater. 9. I call my sellers weekly and reduce policies every 3 weeks, a minimum of 5%. 10. I sell 75% of my listed inventory. 11. I return every signed call and contact every buyer lead within 2 hours of inquiry. 12. I only work with highly qualified buyers who have been pre-qualified by a mortgage lender and signed by a broker agreement. Earn more commission, less time, and less energy spent. I recognize success comes from consistent action and clinical outcomes. Therefore, I commit to following every step of 12 steps of success. Alright, Tony Robbins. Now I have the voice.
Now I have the voice.
I will lead, not follow.
I will lead, not follow.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will believe, not doubt.
I will create, not destroy.
I will create, not destroy.
I am a force for good.
I am a force for good.
I am a leader.
I am a leader.
Defy the odds.
Defy the odds.
Set a new standard.
Set a new standard.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Step up.
Alright, opening affirmations. I'm a professional salesperson who gets home sold. I use the information to help my clients achieve their goals. I price my listings right. I focus on small wins every day. Real estate transactions are abundant in the market. My abilities make me succeed. I get stronger with every step. I'm a master of every situation. My confidence is shaken because I live with integrity. I always have productive thoughts. I take excellent care of my body. I start each day with abundance of energy. I'm task-oriented. I set clear priorities daily. I know what I want when I get it. I attract and enjoy greater financial abundance each day. My gratitude gives me unlimited financial success. I think prosperous thoughts. I am prosperous. I have money and I profit every day. Taking action is easy for me. I'm eager to start each day. I enjoy being debt-free. I exercise daily. I enjoy helping my clients succeed. I eat helpful foods. I'm a real estate expert. I also expect you to be a real estate expert. I am professional. I'm financially independent. I have proficiency in helping others. I have solutions. Prospecting is good for my business. I call expired to sell my owners. Prospecting is easy for me. I enjoy following the advice. People are attracted by
enthusiasm. I use technology to succeed. I get mentally stronger than every call big. I'm an outstanding salesperson. I'm a hard politically. I know how to succeed. I keep positive, positive, productive thoughts around at all times. Yes!
Morning. 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 No, I'm sorry to play. I was hoping maybe I could use that.
No? Yeah.
Let me go to that.
I'm right. How's that? I feel better.
Either way, I'm going to go back to bed.
What? Are you kidding?
You've got a little life for
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
All right. Summit today. You ready, Lindsay?
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. She's going to dazzle us, Russ.
Awesome.
Anything else? Anything else new up there? We even have Lutron in the house. Right? Speaking next week. Is that next week? No, it's like
November 8th.
I guess that's 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
Just make sure you're up on the book club, chapters 4 through 7 for tomorrow.
Okay. If there's anything else? Should be a good summit. We've got Rick speaking, John speaking, Lindsay speaking, I'm speaking. We're doing a few awards. Should be a really good day. I'm excited about it. And if you're not careful, we might just call you up to speak. So pay attention. You better pay attention. All right, Mario, how you good with that?
There won't be any time for that.
Nobody's
What are you talking about?
With all of you guys speaking,
The three of us.
Mari told me she was.
You know what? I might run out of time. I might not have anything to say. I might run out of work. Jimber, I might run out of what to say. It's possible.
no, not possible.
Look, the only way. Here's the good news. The happier I am, the more I talk. If you ever want to be concerned, know this. If I'm not speaking, you should be very worried. Just for the record, Timbra. In fact, I remember the rule of thumb got to where my kids, we get done with a sporting event or something like that. In fact, it started with a game that my daughter, when she was I think a sophomore or something like that, at Alta High School, and it was Mackenzie, and we had and I watched this basketball game, and it was horrible. I mean, they got worked over like nobody's business, and I watched her just kind of like start going through the motions, jogging down the court, not putting forth a full effort, and so, you know, we got in the car, and I literally, dude, are you gonna text me back?
I was late when I saw it.
Late? I did it. I'm just checking. All right. Sorry. Good morning.
Pattern interrupt there.
Just saying. Who, he did? Well, you should have sent me a text. It would have been fun to hear about it. So, anyway. All right. So we're driving in the car, and it's like dead silence. And we go from Alta High School, and I remember right at 9400 South and 13th, and not a single word is said. And I remember she was thinking not much of it, and then I just like unleashed like fury on the fact of giving her best. And it was actually, for me, in fact I think back, it was actually the time where I really became clear on what I'm passionate about from the standpoint of just humanity. And it really has become the mantra, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know, I mean, sometimes mission statements all kind of frustrate me when we say them, but I would just simply say the mantra of the company is to simply assist every individual becoming their very best. And I remember at that moment is when what I was so angry about was the fact that she hadn't given her very best. And even despite the loss, despite getting crushed, despite losing the game, those were all irrelevant to me. And the one thing that I've realized over the years, doesn't matter whether I'm playing, you know, a game of racquetball or tennis or basketball, or whether I'm playing anything, is I realize that if I'm going to lose, I will go. It will be to the bitter end that I will try. And so the thing that I would just echo to you is that if you look at your effort, if you look at what you're doing to give your very best, can you look back at the end of a day and say, today I gave my very best? And there'll be days that you don't, I know that. I mean, look, I mean, I get it. I mean, there's days that we don't. I mean, that's just being human. But, man, imagine if 80% of the time you were able to lay your head down on your pillow at night and go, you know what, today, no doubt, not a doubt in my mind, I gave my very best. The question I always ask about giving your very best is, what would life look like if you gave your very best? What would it look like financially? What would your health look like? What would your relationships look like? What would you look like as a father, a mother? What would life look like if you gave your very best? And I am fascinated by just humanity, that so seldom, so little do people give their very best. You know, like where they talk about, you finish the statement. Did they leave it all on the what? Table, the field, right? On the court. Did you leave it all out on the court? What does that really mean? What it means is, did you give your very best? Did you give everything you had? And the thing I always find fascinating about giving our very best is that people like, they hold back. They try to savor their energy. They try to not exhaust themselves with everything that they have, not giving all that they have towards something. And what I am fascinated by is that there is never excellence. There is never the true joy that life can bring when we're not giving our very best. It is absolutely impossible. And yet what you find is that people who have given their very best are the people who seem to experience the greatest amounts of joy. So, with that, now I'll actually get on my real subject, Lou. All right? So speaking to that, just a few other things, Russ. Just remember that winning is in the details, and I am fascinated how few people pay attention to the details. I am fascinated to where people will think that just because they follow a script or follow a dialogue. Yesterday I was speaking to someone and I said to them, let me make it really clear. If you are, I use a little more colorful word, but I would just simply say that if you were a jerk, the scripts don't fix that. If you're an idiot, scripts don't fix that. If you're selfish, scripts don't fix that. If you're self-serving all the time, scripts don't fix that. So the thing is that we get so caught up in what a script or a dialogue is, but the essence of what brings us business is it's who we're being in the process. It's our existence. It's our being that people are attracted to. So little of what we do has to do with what we say. Hence every study that we look at, 7% is the words, 38% is the tone, 55% of our communication comes from our body language, and the reality is if that's the facts, if those are real, if they're anywhere near that, then why is it the words mean so little? Because they mean so little. Because it's what happens with who you're being when you're with people. It's your element of gratitude, thankfulness. It's them feeling your energy, your soul, your spirit, your heart, and that's what people are attracted to, and it almost has nothing to do with what you're saying. And the moment that you finally begin to figure that out, you start worrying about, well, what is my listing packet looking like? What is the car that I'm driving? What is I still remember there came a point where I'd walk out with the contract, the market analysis, and a manila folder because I recognized none of it else mattered. It didn't. It just doesn't. And we can think that it does, but I promise you it doesn't. Why it matters is because you haven't become, or we haven't become, who we need to become. And once we become that, none of the other stuff matters. Because what they're attracted to is you. When I look at just even getting like fence bids, sprinkler bids, concrete work, what I'm sold on is not the fact that someone can put down concrete. What I'm sold on is who the person is who's going to put the concrete in. And I'm committed to that person because of how I feel when they're there. I trust the fact that they will be okay. Today I have a meeting at 5:30 this evening with one of our relocation accounts from the LDS Church, one of the high-level directors in the LDS Church over a particular segment of the church there. And they're coming in, and I thought, okay, who do I want in this room? So I picked a very specific builder that I feel, I have years of experience with and know who he is. I'm bringing in this architect, right? We're bringing in another agent. And all of these factors are based on what I know the experience will be, how the person will feel when they're there, so that we can kind of clean up this whole process because there's been some things that have gone on in it. And so I have to put the right people in the room. And you know what? It won't have anything to do with the script or the dialogue that they use. It'll have nothing to do with what any of them will ever actually say. It will have to do with the tone, the heart, the soul, the spirit, the energy, whatever you want to call it. Whatever resonates to you, you sit there and go, okay, well, this is what whatever vibration you put out to the universe, whatever you want to call it, that's what people will be attracted to, not your words. So with that, let's work on a script. Because you don't know what to say and how to say it and when to say it, it still makes it very challenging. All right, so any thoughts to that? Does it make sense? Lou?
One of the experience that Chu and I, we went to a listing appointment, and one of the seller, he interviewed 4 agents, and two of them are actually from Century 21, and we went in at the same time. So he had actually all the agents in the same room.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Done that?
Yeah,
Been there?
and we show up, and I'm like, what? Like, all of this agent in the same room, so all of us have a folder, and him and I, we have a folder, but we didn't bring a comp. So we just say, you know what, let's have all of this agent talk, and then because we came later, so we say, we'll give you the opportunity to talk, and after that, they left. And then one of the agents at Century 21 said, well, we want to hear your pitch, you know, how you're gonna help him sell the house. And so we say, no, you should go first. So anyway, after that, the agent left, and we were sitting there, and he said, you're gonna make me a lot of money in my house, yeah? And I said, sure. And then he said, well, I want you to sell at this price. And then we told him, no, we cannot sell at this price because it's overpriced. So the whole time it's just go back and forth. And then he said, well, I cannot sign a contract because I'm not feeling comfortable that I want to sign a contract. So we were sitting there for an hour. We wouldn't leave. I told him, I'm not leaving if I don't get the contract signed. And so by the time that he show up, and his wife, they both told him, like, sign the damn paper, sign the contract, sign the contract, sign the contract. And when we left, what we find out and what I noticed is that it's not what the comp said. It's not what I presented to him. It's the fact that we asked him the right question. We care about, so if you're gonna sell, where are you gonna go? How can we help you? Let's take you out, let's look at home, let's see what your kid want, let's see what your wife want. And he told us the only reason why he decided that he want to work with us, out all the agents that came and interview at the same time, is not how much we charge, it's not what we say, but how much we care about his family and their success at the end of the day. And that we say, wow, you know, at the end of the day, it's not the company, you know, it's somewhat the company, but it's if you show that you care for your client and their interests at first, they will work with you.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's a great story. It's a good example. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So with that, then, so let's talk about let's work on some skills here real quick. Yesterday, right, we listed all those skills. We talked about our job. Morning message today is about what is your job, your responsibilities, not only to, when I say morning message, when it goes out in the morning at 7 a.m. We talked about the agent's job to the client, and then we talked about your actual job, so many words behind the scenes. But I want you to think about this. I want you to think about the actual listing presentation. And I'm okay even if we say even the buyer presentation, because the concept is exactly the same. And the reason why I want to bring this up is that my observation in general as I'm watching people move through the process, whether it talk about pricing, which Lou just mentioned, whether we talk about the things that you're going to do from your plan of action, if we were to write up all of the things that are supposed to happen on a presentation, like the 6 or 7 things we always list, or if we were to bring up the outline of the 6 things that we always talk about, I want to set that aside for a minute. What I want you to really get is this one concept, and this is two principles, but the one concept, and that is that the first thing that has to happen in every presentation is that they have to choose you, or you know what, let's just put me, right? And then the second part of that, if we're talking the buyer side, is we'd go out and see a home, but if we're talking the listing side, then that is that we would then choose the price. And what I have found over the years, that if you can separate those two things distinctly in your mind in the presentation, that if you focus on the fact of, look, I have to first make sure they choose me as their agent, then together, in other words that I will put up here, together or as a team, or right, collectively, collaborate, whatever word again works for you, but I usually say as a team we'll choose the price. Because I'm on your team. I'm not against you. I'm on your team. But it doesn't, that's what I always say, right? It doesn't matter what the price is. It doesn't matter what the commission is. If you don't believe I can sell the home, none of that else matters. So why are we talking about the price? Why are we talking about the commissions when you haven't even recognized whether or not I can sell the home or not? It's really an important part of the presentation. So the question is how do you get them to choose you? How do you get them to decide upon the fact that you can be the one who can sell the home, that they can actually work with you, that you're the one that they're going to say, okay, I'm going to engage you and allow you to lead me through this process? Well, it comes down to this, and that is this: meeting their expectations. But here's the problem. Most of the time, we never find out what their expectations are because we never ask enough questions. We are so self-absorbed with what either they're going to ask us next or what we're going to say next that we never take the time to actually find out what their expectations are. And I can promise you that the moment you find out their expectations, you will find the fact that they will choose you. So I just want you to give some thoughts on the regards to just some thoughts that will help maneuver through these expectations, right? Expectations of such things like this: the way in which you communicate, all right? The way in which you're going to market or your plan of action or expose the property. How about the fact of the expectations in regards to the time frame, right? Expectations in regards to just simply the experience, meaning the lockbox, the sign, the paperwork, the internet, putting it on the market. The question I would ask you, are you clear in every presentation, besides these and others, are you absolutely clear on their expectations? Because if you're not clear on the expectation, the great challenge for each of you is that you will never get them to choose you because you won't know whether or not they've experienced, they will meet, the expectations will be met. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the statement that I'm always making in a presentation is something like this. I might say, just thinking here, I might say things like, look, first and foremost, what I've recognized over the years is that you have to choose me, or you have to recognize that I can sell the home before we start focusing in on the price and we start focusing in on the commissions I may charge you. If we can decide that we can work together, then together as a team, we're going to choose a price and a commission that works. Does that sound fair enough? The fact is that you have to make sure you're meeting their expectation. Almost your entire presentation is going to be filtered, created, and driven based on the way in which you will find out those expectations. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Look, it's the same thing that if I'm Lindsay, or I'm Rick, or I'm Russ, or I'm Jason, and the way in which I would recruit an agent would be simply asking, what are your expectations? Yesterday I was with a recruit. It was the exact question I asked. I said, so let me ask you a question. What do you expect to have happen? What do you expect out of your career? What do you expect out of your broker? What do you expect out of your relationships in the office? What do you expect from training? What do you expect from coaching? And the thing is, it's so easy to give a presentation when you find out what their expectations are. I'm fascinated where agents will talk about open houses, and they'll talk about marketing and advertising, and they'll talk about all these things they're going to do. Let me tell you all the things I'm going to do for you. Talk, 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 talk. And the problem is they might not even care. You realize you could summarize it all in one sentence because they don't care. You might just simply say, I'm a Century 21, which is synonymous with real estate. We know what marketing is about. We're going to sell nearly 1 million homes this year. Do you have any questions? Nope, great. They don't care, but you're focusing on it. You actually believe that they want to talk about it. But the problem is that because you never asked any questions of what their expectations are, then the problem is you just go in and talk about it. And you say, well, let me share with you what we're going to do to market your home. And then in their mind, they're going to be thinking, why are we even talking about this? I'm not worried about what you're going to do to sell your home. You're with Century 21. Why are we even talking about this? But you'll talk about it. Because it's the way in which you've always done it. If you don't find out the expectations, it is impossible for them to choose you. It's impossible.
I think even for us, when I do the presentation, I ask more questions because I believe that the person that asks the most questions is the one that controls the conversation.
Absolutely.
Because it's not about you. You're not there to sell you. You're there to make them feel comfortable that they can trust in you doing the most for them and the biggest transaction that they're going to do in their life. You know, so I feel that when I go in a presentation and I try to convince them, you know, why you should work with me, it's always backfire. But when I go in and I say, and I ask them, what is it that you want? What is it that you and your family, what do you expect from me as an agent? What can I do to help you more? What can I achieve the goal? How can I put more money in your pocket? How can I help improve the condition of the home? Who I can call? You know, all that question, that I put together, and we go on the presentation. We ask a lot about those questions. It's usually the end of the day. It's never about the commission. It's never about the price. Actually, they allow us to pick the price for them. So it's very, very rare that we come in and the seller say, I want this price and this is what you're gonna list. The end of the day, if we ask enough questions and they trust in us, then they believe that you can sell it, so the price is the right price for them.
Yeah.
Whatever price you suggest.
Well, if you can, you know, we all know this. If we compete on price and commission, someone will always do it for less, and someone will always say it's worth more. We will lose. I mean, by the way, Lou, I just from example, I mean, how concerned was he yesterday about his commission structure?
Not at all.
It was fascinating to watch. Didn't care one iota. Didn't mean any. He goes, whatever, I'm fine. And the exact words were, that's not why I'm coming.
He was even willing to pay whatever he needed to pay to have his space.
Just want you to think about how you're approaching every presentation. If you're verbally vomiting on people, it is a problem, just for the record. And once in a while someone will say, yes, I love the smell of that throw up, but I can promise you. And they'll sign. You're like, oh man, I'm really doing great. I got a listing. Come on, man. My first year in business, I took over 50. 50 listings, Leslie. So didn't sell nearly half of them, but I still took them. Didn't know what I was doing in regards to pricing. We worked right next to each other. But the fact is I took 50 listings. Some of you get excited because you took one listing in a quarter or 4 in a year, and you act like it's like the celebration tour down the hallway, man. I mean, it's like, come on. Put a reality to what you're really doing. It's not that I don't want you to celebrate, but the reality is that you're capable of far more than that. And the problem is that, and it's just like I said yesterday when the person said they did 2 deals last year, I said, that's not momentum, that's an accident. I mean, and it is.
Not to mention the open house part she talked about.
Right. That's a whole other yes. So my point is just, look, if you want to do more business, look, whether it be buyers or sellers, same thing with the buyers, right? Meet their expectation. Gosh, the simplest question to ask on the phone when you're working with a buyer, sign call. Hey, I work with tons of buyers and sellers in the area. I can tell you're wanting to do a lot of this on your own, but maybe I could point you in the right direction. Tell me, what are you looking for? What do most agents do? They get a phone call from a client or from a potential client or a lead, sign call, whatever. Are you working with an agent? Have you considered that maybe you could offer some level of value before you interrogate them, like a CIA platform? Just a possibility, you know, just a concept of just, hey, what are you looking for? Maybe I mean, so casual, because maybe I could point you in the right direction, and all of a sudden, all the wall of resistance. Well, yeah, I'm looking for this. Gosh, that's great. So share with me, how are you finding your properties? Tell me what's really important to you. And all of a sudden, you make these connections because you ask lots of questions, and all of a sudden, they allow you to lead. And when people feel comfortable, they allow you to lead. So, you know, maybe I'm making a little fun of it, but the fact is I'm fascinated again how we walk in and we just talk and we talk and we talk and we talk, and we never get down to the clarity of what they expect. And if you will, I can promise you experience will be totally different. April?
So what are some questions to start with?
Well, my first question, you know, unless it really is like I believe I'm going to walk in there and go, hi, I have 3 important questions for you first. You have to sell your home and that part. My first question is always this, and usually it's I've only, you know, I mean, I'd like to say that I've spoken to both, you know, spouses or both people who are selling are usually, there's usually always more than one. So my question, if it's just that one person or if it's a second person, if there's a second, and let's just say it was you and Leslie selling the home, I'd say, hey April, it was wonderful to speak to you earlier today or yesterday, get a little bit more about what you want to accomplish. But Leslie, I haven't heard from you, so I just simply wanted to ask you, ultimately, what are you trying to accomplish in the sale of your home? That's my opening question to take all the pressure off of me. Even if I spoke to you on the phone just even 2 hours ago, I'd say, boy, I got a ton of information for you, but I just want to review again. Ultimately, April, what are you trying to accomplish on the sale of this home? What do you really want to have happen? And then I just start with the tell me more, share with me, help me understand, and I just keep getting deeper and deeper into the emotion, right? There's the yes and no, there's the yes and no questions, there's the open-ended question, but I want to get to what I call the emotional questions. Because the open-ended would be things, or the yes or no is, do you have to move? Yes. Where are you moving to? Phoenix. Great. What's taking you, then now open-ended. What's taking you to Phoenix? Job transfer. But what I want to know is, job transfer, that's great. Tell me a little bit more about that. What's important about the new job? Now I'm going to get into the emotion and the reasons why and what drives them to getting to Phoenix. Does that make sense?
So I have a question. So how do you base off the difference between like a logical question and an emotional question? Can you give us
Is there any agent that ever asked a logical question? The most uncommon thing in real estate is common sense, but that's a whole other conversation.
No, just out of curiosity. So like, just give me an example of just the two, because there is obviously an emotional.
A logical question?
And a logical question, right? Because you mentioned that. Oh, I try to ask emotional questions to get a better response.
I don't know if go ahead, to get a
based off like to get a better idea of what they're really looking for, because when you talk to some some for sale by owners, like, well, it's all about the numbers and so forth.
No, it's not. That's nonsense. That's a lie.
Correct. So, well,
not you're saying the lie. I'm saying that that's a lie. What they're saying.
I understand. So like, how do you try to draw away from that? Like, when someone is very analytical, like, where do you want to ping on them?
My knee-jerk action on like that, if they said, so role play with me, so say what they're going to say.
Okay, I'll role play right now. Okay. Well, the numbers to me is very important, and I don't understand how you can make me more money if I already have several agents run a comp on my property.
Right, so you've had a number of people run comps on your property, right?
Yes.
That's great. So let me ask you a question. What I hear you saying, I probably do a pattern rep. What I really hear you saying is what you're really committed to is earning the most money possible on the sale of your home, right?
Yes.
So let me ask you a question. If you expose your home at a higher level, you'd have more buyers who would look at your home, right?
Would make sense.
So if you had more buyers looking at your home long, is it conceivable you'd have more offers on your home?
Yes.
And if you had more offers on your home, is it conceivable you could actually earn more money?
Yeah, but the thing is, my home's not going to appraise to cover your commission.
Well, I don't know if it does or doesn't because I haven't done the work to do so. And the reality is although you may have had other people do comparables, I can't trust that. The reason I'm a professional, the reason we sell a home every 2 hours in this organization is because we know what we're doing and we know how to do it. So I've got my calendar open. What works better for you? Is it the afternoons or evenings?
Well, I understand where you're coming from, okay? But what I'm afraid of, because I ran into the same situation, is listen, we did get an offer at the price of that would cover your commission, but then the appraiser came in and after that they undervalued my home. So now I have to pay you that extra 3%, which that's the reason why I don't want to use an agent.
Yeah, and there's no question that I would want you to have to. I mean, look, there would be no reason to work with me if you were going to lose money on the sale of your home, right?
Exactly.
And I hope you know I'm committed to getting you the most money possible. Do you believe that?
You sound like a honest guy so far.
Yeah, and along that's the very reason we should get together, because my commitment is to make sure you get the most out of your home. And if there's more money to get out of your home, I'm the guy who's going to be able to do that. Now, what usually works better for you is the afternoons or evenings? Well, someone else can help them if you have a better objection.
I'm trying to think of a better objection.
Let me ask you a question. What's the worst thing that could happen? See, this is the worst thing that could happen. I could come out, visit with you, share with you a absolutely knock your socks off, pick them up in Hawaii type of presentation and way in which I could get your home sold for today's top dollar, right? That's the worst thing that could really happen in my mind. Or you actually, oh my gosh, I totally did that opposite. I need some practice. This is what we were working on. Hold on. So the worst thing that could happen is that, look, you love what I have to say, you like it, you and I decide to work together. That's something that could happen, right?
Yeah, but I don't want to sign no 6-month contract
Right.
or anything.
But even if you don't work with me, ultimately the worst thing that could happen is you expose your home to a top agent that sells a ton of property. Either way you win. Either you love what I have to offer, we work together, or number two, you don't like what I have to offer, and you decide to continue to go on your own, but you've exposed your home to a top agent. Let me ask you a question. Are you willing to pay at least a partial commission if I brought you a buyer?
Yeah.
Excellent. So really what we're saying is that if I could net you 3% more than you could sell on your own, you and I could work together, right? The reality is that if I can't negotiate 3% more on the sale of your home, then I shouldn't even be in this business. And that's the reason I'm in this business, because of who I am and how I negotiate.
Well, you know, well, I like what you have to say, but I have a friend who's also a top agent too. And if I need to sell my home, I'll just go with him.
Absolutely.
And he's the one that gave me the comp, so.
Yeah. Well, and this is really the question, Long, is it's about who you're committed to and who you're loyal to, right?
Exactly.
Right. So let me ask you a question. You have a family?
Yes.
You have a responsibility to make sure you earn the most money possible on the sale of this home?
Yes.
And don't you believe that your absolute loyalties are not to me, not to your friend, but to your family?
Oh, that's good.
We're not done. Yes, great. So don't you owe it to them to meet with me to see whether or not you could actually earn more money and have a better experience and put more money in your pocket and live the dream that you're supposed to provide for your family? So I've got my calendar open right now. Now, what works better for you? Is it typically the mornings or afternoons?
Well, how was this? I'll agree with me with you. I'll agree with me with you. But are you willing to cut a commission?
Am I willing to cut my commission? Is that what you're
Yes.
asking? Here's the good news, Long, is that commissions are completely negotiable in the state of Utah. And the fact is we're going to decide upon a price and a commission that's fair for both you and me. Is that fair enough?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I'll see you today at 4 o'clock. Does that work?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanos.
Actually, let me redo that. So just so you know, this is why we practice, but Aaron and I were working on this, but if I was role-playing with Aaron, what I was saying is, look, here's the worst thing that could happen, Aaron, is that I come out, you love what I have to offer, you sit there and go, man, this is the best thing since sliced bread, and we work together. That's one thing that could happen. But the worst thing that would happen, in my mind, is that you expose your home to a top agent who sells a ton of property. Aaron, do you realize we sell a home every 2 hours in this organization? Wouldn't it be good to know that your home was known by the agents within this organization? That's the worst thing that could happen. So why don't we do this? I've got my calendar open, and then I come out. And people say, well, wait, did you ask them if they're going to list with you? No, here's the deal. Once the appointment is set, then I'm going to go to and say, so Aaron, I'm so excited to meet with you. Do you have a few moments before I arrived, or before I come out? I wanted to ask you just a couple more questions. And he's going to say, in most cases, yes. I'm going to say, great. Hey, I just want to make sure of something. If what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, are you intending on listing your home with me when I see you today at 4 o'clock?
Yes.
And you might say, well, no, you might say, well, I don't know. I mean, you said you were just...
You just said you're going to come out and show me, so I don't know what you're going to do.
Yeah. Look, and again, as I said, I didn't say if you don't like what I have to offer, if it makes no sense, if you actually feel completely uncomfortable and you're going, why is this guy in my house? What I'm asking you, and I usually get him to laugh, what I'm really asking, if it makes sense, if you feel comfortable, if you say, you know, this is the path for me and for my family because it's the best path to get my home sold, are you willing to entertain the fact that you would list with me?
I would think about it, yeah.
Okay. All right. So obviously, let's think out loud for a minute. What would you want to think about?
I'm just going to make sure that you're the right guy.
All right, fair enough. So again, what you're saying then is if it felt right, if you knew I was the right guy, what you're telling me is you'd consider listing your home with me when I see you today at 4 o'clock. Okay, perfect. So let me share with you what's going to happen when I come out. I'm going to share with you what I do to get a home sold. I'm going to find more about what your needs, your wants, and expectations are. We're going to talk about a price, and if you feel comfortable, I'm going to ask you to sign a contract. Aaron, is there any reason why you wouldn't sign the contract with me?
I can't think of any more.
Okay, perfect. Well, just promise me this, you won't sign anything before I get there. Fair enough? Because I know you got a lot of agents calling you.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That would be pretty normal.
I have a question.
I'd be playing that's my life. That's the life I lived for 15 years.
So what about they hit you the line? All of you agents say the same thing with the same lines, the same script, and you're going to promise me this, X, Y, and Z, and so forth.
Yeah.
How do you respond?
So long, isn't it scary that we all promise the same thing and yet we all get different results? Here's the exciting thing about working with someone like me or at Century 21. We sell a home every 2 hours. We're in 82 countries. We have over 115,000 agents worldwide. There's a reason that we set ourselves apart by selling 1 out of every 3 homes of existing home sales in 3 different counties. It is not an accident that we will sell nearly 8,000 homes this year. It is all about results. It's not what we say, it's what we do. So I've got my calendar open. What works better for you, afternoons or evenings?
Do you try to use like analogies too?
Like
while
what?
you're on the phone, like for example, you say, what's the difference between like one good lawyer and one mediocre lawyer? You know, because they did pretty much do the same thing in that context, right?
We could. Sure. Yeah. I mean, one of my examples is on commissions. Why is it that one attorney charges $250 an hour and another attorney that I work with out of San Francisco charges $1,425 an hour? Why do I work with that attorney? Why do I don't even want him to ask me, how are you doing? Because it just costs me like $2. like, why do I call him? Why do I talk to him? Why? Because of his results, because of his expertise, because of who he is, because he gets the job done. So the question is that you know what the difference between 6 and 7% is on the sale of your home? Do you know what that is? Most people will say, well, it's $1,400, $1,900, $2,000. No, it's none of that. It's the difference of getting your home sold or not sold. It's the difference of working with the right agent versus a mediocre one. That's the difference. So the question is do you want the best agent, or do you just want any agent?
I prefer not working with any agent, to be honest with you.
Well, of course. But the reality is that you know you're going to have to. And you also know that you need to choose the best one. And if you sit there and try to save money on the most important asset of your life, and you're trying to save a few dollars, does that make any sense to you?
I understand where you're coming from, but this is a seller's market, so I could negotiate what buyer I sold.
Of course you could. I mean, you could sell your own house, you could cut your own hair, you can mow your own lawn. I mean, we are in the do-it-yourself state, the Utah. This is the place. Do you have a Flowbee? Because the fact is you can do it all yourself when you cut your hair. The fact is that you can do it all, but the question is does the professional who cuts my lawn better than me doing it? And that's the very reason why you and I need to sit down, because I'm going to share with you what it means to be a professional in this industry and what it means to get top dollar in the shortest amount of time. Now, what works better for you, Lon? Is it the afternoons or evenings? Oh, God, we got to go. All right. Here we go. Is that good?
That was awesome.
It always is certainty. In the words of the great Rob Oakey, what you say may make no sense, but you're so certain about, everyone goes, I believe.
Right?
Because I'm certain. All right, here we go. I succeed because I act on my goals. I'm an optimist. I like talking to new people. I know it's important to me. I remember people's names. I have a game plan I follow.
I am passionate about real estate. I know
This is my greatest tool. I like asking questions, listening. I enjoy reading to improve my sales skills.
My boss will be
Exact results. I focus on my dreams daily. My presentation is powerful and persuasive. I improve my skills daily. I am happy. I love the prospect because it feeds my business. I see my future is awesome. I love my life. I am grateful and thankful. I control my thinking. I believe in me. I feel outstanding. I use my beliefs and opportunity daily. I get things done. I provide excellent customer service. I drink water daily. I connect with people. People love me. I love others. I am disciplined, accountable to my daily schedule. I prospect daily. I set appointments daily. I am a master persuader. I achieve my goals. I'm a real estate rock star. I am passionate about my life. I live every day with purpose. I am confident in my sales skills. I know my destiny. I am healthy and strong. I am powerful. I'm unstoppable.